Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Blasphemers Bible. We had to take a bit of a break because I had to, go out of state for a conference, which, I'm glad I did, but it so took me out of everything I need to do. I'm way behind on everything now. I'd also like to open up with a comment about people that post things on like YouTube comments, right? I get this like almost every day where somebody says that their post got deleted and they think that I'm deleting their post, and they think that I'm deleting their post because they made such a great point that it compromises my position, and I'm scared and I can't admit it and I have to delete it because I can't deal with it, which is a completely ridiculous thought. This is coming from the mindset of a believer who has a belief system. So if I present proof against their position, well, then they would have to delete it because they have to believe the thing, whether it's true or not. That's not my position. I don't have a belief system. So it is not possible for you to present a point that would be so devastating to my position that I would have to delete it, to hide it, to cover it up. No, if you prove that my point is wrong, I change my mind and adopt the point that you're advocating if it's well enough supported. That's how that works. That's how reason works, as opposed to dogmatic belief. So stop with the pretense. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Glad to see you all again.
Glad to see you too. In fairness, I miss living in the days before the YouTube algorithm would just randomly scrub something because it sounds like something or looks like something that someone is worried about spreading. It's getting to the point where I'm like, some people do delete comments. I mean, you've been dealing with creationists online long enough to know that, but I can't even tell anymore. It's just maybe the algorithm was drunk. Maybe someone's hiding from arguments. I don't know.
I don't even, when it happens to me, I don't even know what the criteria could have been. So what I do is I paraphrase what I said, right? Or I post it in pieces, or I'll do both. Mm-hmm. And then if one of them gets deleted, well, then I can isolate what, maybe whittle down what they were shooting for.
Admittedly, I don't think you have time to scrub comments. I mean, you have a very extensive library, and if you wasted time on every idiot who said something stupid on one of your videos, like, you have time for that.
Indeed. All right, so we are on. Let me see. Which number of Chronicles? First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, Third Chronicles? No.
75th.
So we were in the middle of chapter 6.
Yes.
In the middle of the commentary on chapter 6, which, because Chrome crashed on me, we never finished. So
yeah.
All right. Well, resume then.
And I think we said that we would restart from the beginning of.
Okay, Genesis.
Which verse is it? It's chapter
30. It's 633, I think.
633 in the Christian Bible.
Oh, of course.
And which is the first chapter.
Take a look at the
beginning. Sorry, it's the beginning of the chapter in the Hebrew Bible. The first, like 6:1 in the Hebrew and 6:33 in the Old Testament.
Okay. We got a couple comments from Matt White, who says, Aaron, while you were out, papal existence failure. Until smoke is seen, no one is claimed to be infallible. How do we make it permanent? Yes. Well, I'm not commenting about the Pope.
It's kind of tricky. Arn has to be out of state, and then the Pope dies. Not saying.
Well, I think we can all agree that J.D. Vance killed the Pope. He just spent 30 seconds in his presence and went, God, take me now. And J.D. Vance promised to pray for his health, and God went, I definitely can't listen to that one, and I kind of should listen to that one. Okay.
What does the Pope sit on? What's his like the papal
seat?
The C, I think, isn't it?
The C.
Well, the C is like
the Holy
See is not a seat. It's the Holy See is like his area.
Yeah.
Holy C, as in the letter C.
S-E-E.
S-E-E.
Yeah. A C is like it's like
S-E-E. Okay.
It's like the parish or the papal see area.
It's
something like that.
The whole. It's more than just the seat. It's
yeah. I think
in my house,
there's also
the Holy See.
It's
not called the papal couch or something.
It is also the name of a programming language by Terry A. Davis, Holy See.
And it's also called the Throne.
Well, he is technically the monarch of the Vatican state as a state. Oh no, I thought maybe it was also called the Holy Couch or something.
And then we have
That's a very good Vance joke.
I was like, he caught something. I don't know.
Very solid, yeah.
Get your vice president off people's couches. Oh my God. Someone give him a little zappy necklace.
The Pope got scabies.
So you're saying Vance killed the Pope because he liked his seat?
Oh.
And you may not notice, viewers, because the difference is subtle, but I can actually open my left eye again. I can actually see out of my left eye. Had to do surgery on that. Lifted both eyes just a little bit because they were kind of droopy. If you don't remember, I spent most of my life like this. And it's kind of neat being able to, not look at my eyelid.
Vision is good.
Thank you. So Dara O'Kane says, Aaron, how can you say Trump did a bad job? Did a bad job? He's doing a phenomenally bad job. He undermined the dollar as the world currency, raised awareness of all the crimes the U.S. does, cost the world's richest man his money, Comrade Trump. Yeah. In some perspectives, he's doing a very good job. I mean, Vladimir Putin thinks Trump is doing a bang-up job.
And I would like to thank him on behalf of Canada because we were set to elect a hideous, nasty little conservative toad boy who would imitate him. And his threats to our national sovereignty have got even conservatives telling him to fuck off. So I appreciate that on behalf of all of those of us who would like to continue to live in a civilized country. But I won't know the result of that until the election in a couple days.
Trump had a direct effect. Trump had a direct effect on making the liberals popular again.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I mean, Mark Carney has a good resume, but he also stepped the fuck up to bat for Canada immediately, whereas Pierre Pissy Pants Poilievre's entire group of handlers had to prod him for 6 weeks into saying that Canada wouldn't be the 51st anything. Like a bitch.
Okay.
Yes.
So when last we met, Tomer was rudely interrupted by a systems failure.
Yeah.
So, should I read the first few verses?
We've already read them, right? Do we really need to repeat that?
I think.
Suddenly Tomer hates Chronicles.
No, it's just that I want to move on to the next chapter. Just don't want this to interfere.
Okay,
right?
tell me where are you up to in the commentary? What verse?
31 through 47, which is 16 through 32.
Right. So just for the audience, we are beginning with Tomer's final commentary on chapter 6, or the
yeah. And it's two pages.
So...
It's just 2 pages on this whole chapter.
Right. Okay. So I did want to. I guess we can
in 6-point font.
6, kind of.
Wait, does your chapter 6 not go all the way through 81?
No, because in the Masoretic text is chapter 6 is from verse 1 through 60 something. And no, it's 1.
The Masoretic,
it includes 66, and in the Old Testament. The Old Testament has 527 through 41 as well. So in the Old Testament, it's 80 verses.
Okay. So it starts chapter 6 in the Old Testament starts earlier than in the Hebrew.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very long chapter.
It is. It is. Okay. So I want. Sorry.
You want to so you just want to jump straight to the commentary on verses 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
So on 31 through 47, which is 16 to 32, and keep in mind I'm saying from verse to verse, meaning from the Old Testament, which is from the Masoretic text, just to line things up. So Klein comments, quote, With David's transfer of the ark to Jerusalem, a marked change in the status of the Levites occurred according to the chronicler. Since the Levites no longer had to carry the ark, David assigned them other duties, primarily their leadership in the service of song in the temple. In 1 Chronicles 15:1 through 16:43, the chronicler reports David's initiation of this new role. At first on a provisional basis, 1 Chronicles 15:16 through 24, and then more permanently in 16:4 through 7 and 37 through 42. David's association with music is also attested in the Psalter and in the account of the transfer of the Ark of Jerusalem in 2 Samuel 6:5. So his leadership role in establishing the cultic music of the temple comes as no surprise. Cultic music and singing may well go back to the time of David, but it is highly probable that the particular organization of the singing guilds in chapter 6 reflects the chronicler's own time and is merely backdated to the 10th century to establish its legitimacy. The singers David appointed were divided into 3 guilds taken from each of the great Levitical families of Kohath, Gershom, and Merari, and headed by Heman, Asaph, and Etam.
I do love how much of the Bible is just a lot of, see, we've always done it this way that really happens to serve me, and I didn't totally just invent 5 minutes ago. See?
Yeah. So the chronicler seems to think that, these 3 guys who were, head singers or whatever at the time of David, that they have the accurate chronology of each of them. But then in the same chapter, it brings up a different family tree. But if you compare them to, I think it's Heman, which is in both of these, not both of them. Sorry, what we just read. Well, last time we read it, Heman is called the son of Joel, son of Samuel, which is traditionally associated with Samuel the prophet, and Joel being one of the 2 brothers, Joel and Aviah, that were, if you remember back in Judges, I think it is, Samuel was old and his sons were appointed judges, and then they started taking bribes or something.
Yeah, they started behaving like Eli's sons had, basically being greedy and sticky-fingered and just generally a bit corrupt.
So it seems that the first chronology, the first few verses of this chapter, says that Heman is the son of Joel, son of Samuel, and then it gives a whole long chronology going back to Korah, the son of Itzar, son of Kahath. But then in the second part of the chapter we're going to get to, it gives another chronology going down to some guy, and then it says the sons of Samuel, and it forgets to mention Joel. And then it kind of brings up a slightly different family tree, which you can see that they're more or less the same. There's too many coincidences. There's too many names that are the same, but it's in the wrong order. And instead of ending up at the top of the chain, instead of it being Itzar, son of Kahath, is now the son of someone else who we haven't mentioned before. So it's what?
I love
the chronicler didn't notice. Yeah.
It's like the opposite of harmonization.
Okay, so on 48 through 53, which is 33 through 38, Dirksen comments. Okay. Yeah. It is uncertain whether verses 33 forward are by the chronicler's hand. On the one hand, these verses contain nothing that could not stem from the chronicler. The expression lakofer also occurs in 2 Chronicles 29:24, which Willie sees as an argument for chronistic authorship. On the other hand, the emphatic distinction between Levites as servants of the temple and the priests with their prerogatives is not in keeping with the chronicler, who rather, while recognizing the special position of the priests in 16:6 and 2 Chronicles 29:16, foregrounds the prominent position of the Levites, especially of the singers, whereas a later redactor stresses the special status of the priests. Perhaps this redactor wanted to remind readers of the prominent position of the priests after the focus on the Levites in verses 5 through 15 and 16 through 32. Note, too, the expression Aaron and his sons. It occurs only here in Chronicles, but links up as a designation of the priests with the language of their redactor. Compare he, i.e. Aaron, and his sons in 23:13, and the description of the priests as sons of Aaron without the addition of the priests. And finally, 54 through 81, which is 39 through 66, Japhet comments, the second half of the chapter, the longest geographical unit in Chronicles, is a list of the Levitical and priestly cities. Notwithstanding the contrary claim of Ald, I hold to the generally accepted view that the chronicler's version is dependent on that of Joshua 21. For all their differences, the versions of Chronicles and Joshua preserve two readings of the same document. While the Joshua text is the more dependable, Chronicles may in fact retain special details of an original nature.
So, you're reading the commentary to the end of the chapter now, or?
Yeah, that was it. 39 through 66.
Because I don't think we.
I don't know if we read the text of the whole.
Yeah, we
chapter.
don't think we read that text.
Yeah, we stopped reading the text at exactly what verse?
Really, I can't remember.
I think it was okay. I think it would be in the Old Testament, verse 30.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I think I get you. You can read it, or I can read it.
It goes up to verse 80 in
which verse?
Yeah, 39. 39.
Which is
39 in the Masoretic text, 54 in the Old Testament, which is 39 in the Masoretic text.
39. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read it then.
Sure.
639 in the Masoretic. These are their dwelling places according to their settlements within their borders, to the sons of Aaron of the family of the Kohathites, for theirs was the first lot. They gave them Hebron in the land of Judah and its surrounding pasture lands. But the fields of the city and its villages they gave to Caleb, son of Jephunneh. To the sons of Aaron they gave the cities of refuge, Hebron and Livnah with its pasture lands, Yatir and Eshtemoa with its pasture lands, Chilez with its pasture lands, Devir with its pasture lands, Ashan with its pasture lands, and Bet Shemesh with its pasture lands. From the tribe of Benjamin, Geva with its pasture lands, Alamet with its pasture lands, and Anathoth with its pasture lands. All their cities throughout their families were 13. To the remaining Kohathites were given by lot, out of the family of the tribe. Out of the half tribe, the half of Manasseh, 10 cities. To the Gershonites, according to their families, were allotted 13 cities out of the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and Manasseh in Bashan. To the Merarites, according to their families, were allotted 12 cities out of the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So the people of Israel gave the Levites the cities with their pasture lands. They gave them by lot out of the tribes of the Judahites these cities that are mentioned by name, and out of the tribe of the Simeonites, and out of the tribe of the Benjaminites. And some of the families of the sons of Kohath had cities of their territory out of the tribe of Ephraim. They gave them the cities of refuge, Shechem with its pasture lands in the hill country of Ephraim, Gezer with its pasture lands, Yokmeam with its pasture lands, Beth Horon with its pasture lands, Ayalon with its pasture lands, Gath Rimmon with its pasture lands, and out of the half tribe of Manasseh, Aner with its pasture lands, and Bil'am with its pasture lands, for the rest of the families of the Kohathites. To the Gershonites, out of the half tribe of Manasseh, Golan in Bashan with its pasture lands, and Ashtaroth with its pasture lands. And out of the tribe of Issachar, Kedesh with its pasture lands, Dovrath with its pasture lands, Ramoth with its pasture lands, and Anem with its pasture lands. Out of the tribe of Asher, Mashal with its pasture lands, Avdon with its pasture lands, Hukok with its pasture lands, and Rehov with its pasture lands. And out of the tribe of Naphtali, Kedesh in Galilee with its pasture lands, Hamon with its pasture lands, and Kiriatayim with its pasture lands. To the rest of the Merarites, out of the tribe of Zebulun, Rimono with its pasture lands, Tavor with its pasture lands, and beyond the Jordan at Jericho, on the east side of the Jordan, out of the tribe of Reuben, Betzer in the wilderness with its pasture lands, Yatzah with its pasture lands, Kedemoth with its pasture lands, and Mephaath with its pasture lands. And out of the tribe of Gad, Ramoth in Gilead with its pasture lands, Machanaim with its pasture lands, Heshbon with its pasture lands, and Yazer with its pasture lands. I don't know why they couldn't just have a note at the end that said, all these cities included the pasture lands. They didn't have to say every single
Or
time.
all of them are found in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Manasseh or something like that, of the Kings of Judah. I don't know.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
all
just
these,
like-
all of these,
Yeah.
all these cities, including their pasture lands, are they not found in the book of the Chronicles or something like that?
Okay, but this is supposed to be the Book of Chronicles where they just write everything.
This
Yeah.
is bureaucracy. They like obnoxious, repetitive, dull nonsense that drags you into a coma so you don't notice that they're picking your pocket.
You know
Wow,
what else?
this
You
is
know-
exhilarating writing.
I am
yeah.
thrilled deeply.
I am. Yeah, I am
Well, it
already
was
aroused.
God's first book.
Is it though?
If I can find a beta reader, he can.
Well, let's look at how God progresses. He writes the Old Testament first,
Hmm.
and most people learn, get a little better over time. But then God writes the Gospels and such, right?
And such.
And then God wrote the Quran, and then the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, he's a very busy guy.
Yeah,
He does his own fan fiction, are you saying?
Yeah, I'm just noticing that God is not improving
Consistent.
over time.
Oh. It's
No.
devolution.
He's
Yes, I think we can begin. I think we see the effects of God's crack addiction.
oh dear. That's what he did on the 8th day, isn't it?
Yeah, toked a huge ball. Okay, so Pavlos Lazovskis offers 6.66 euro and says a nice number of European dollars to celebrate that the Pope was finally in a box.
Nice.
Which is not a non-glass box.
Mm.
In fairness to the Pope, while I have no love of the Catholic Church, I did like this Pope. As popes go, it's still
I have
bullshit
to
that
concur.
anyone's infallible. Yeah.
As popes go, he tried to do the thing about hurry up. I must hurry and catch up with them, for I am their leader.
Yes.
He did. He tried to save Catholicism from itself.
He did. And
he did this thing. It's happened with a few popes when when his infallible eminence says something that the bishops get upset about, and then the bishops have to come up and clean up the mess afterward and say, well, his infallible eminence misspoke.
Yes, very.
And they have an excuse. They have a name for the excuse when that happens, because the Pope was not speaking in some certain capacity. I forget what the name is, but when the Pope is speaking in that capacity, then he's infallible. But when he's speaking in this other capacity, well, then he can be mistaken.
Yeah. There's a limited number of infallible statements you can make, and ideally you make as few as humanly possible, because one contradiction and the whole thing comes crashing down.
But what I like about this Pope wasn't it this Pope? It wasn't Darth Ratzinger.
No.
It was this Pope who came up with the idea that, one, there's no purgatory anymore. Was that Darth Ratzinger? Or
that might have been John Paul. Or like it sort of faded out.
Was that before Ratzinger?
It might have even been during Ratzinger. Well, considering the whole dead babies floating around in nothingness forever. Yeah. Well, if they didn't get the magic.
This last one, he was Francis, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Francis was the last one.
So what he did was he said that atheists can get into heaven.
Cool.
Which just makes me chuckle, because the reason why is obviously there is no heaven, right? All of that is made up bullshit. But what makes me laugh about that was that the bishops then try to correct the Pope later. His infallible eminence misspoke. No, atheists cannot get into heaven. And then the Pope says it again. No, atheists can get into heaven.
Well, I believe he said it was better to be a good atheist than a hateful believer. Which fair. But yeah, he also he tended far more towards a form of actual humility. It was really funny. There was a fellow who journalist, go to the Vatican, interview for things and stuff. And during Herr Ratzinger, everybody was all in full drag, all the dresses and the hats and the gold and the woo, even for interviews. And once Francis got in, suddenly they were all wearing humble robes with rope belts and not being dramatic bitches. And he was like, "So what's up with the change? This is the style His Holiness prefers." I'm like, "Oh, do you not get to wear full drag every day?"
Yeah, I know. I get the pomp and circumstances, what the Catholic Church sells itself on. If I was the Pope, all these guys would have extra long robes and they'd be all on hoverboards and nobody would know.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, there is like a dance that you can, like a dance step where it looks like you're floating.
Oh, women have perfected that in going downstairs in giant. You just make sure that your body continues while your legs do whatever they need to do to keep you from.
I'm just remembering the nun from the Blues Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she raises her hand like this, and she has her wicked yardstick that she used for beating children, and glides backward without taking a step, and the door closes without anybody moving it.
There's a movie from a couple of years ago called The Two Popes, where Pope Francis, before he becomes the Pope, he's played by Jonathan Pryce, who, if you've seen Game of Thrones, he plays like the head of the cult, like the soft-spoken like priest guy who's like all so similar a vibe, I guess. And Anthony Hopkins plays Ratzinger.
Oh God.
Pope Benedict.
Well, he has played a sociopath before, so he's got the range.
But the thing is, they look so much like them. Like they both look like the characters they play.
He's able to make it work. I know. Sir Anthony Hopkins is a genius.
The High Sparrow, that's what he was called in Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Got a comment from Matt White who says, "Aaron, it's speaking ex cathedra from his chair."
Yeah. So a cathedra. Cathedra is a bishop's chair, and a cathedral is a church that has a cathedra in it. Yeah.
So that's how we distinguish whether he's speaking infallibly or merely as a man.
Well, you know, it's very important that God has somewhere to put his hand up his ass so he can puppet him properly.
Yeah, because the Pope is just a bishop, right?
Yes, the bishop is Peter. Bishop. Anyway, we'll see if history repeats itself. I really hope it doesn't.
Not the bishop.
I don't suppose anybody on this panel knows any Japanese. I'm guessing that's what this is.
Doesn't Isaac know a little bit?
Just
how to read it.
I think it's like internet or
internet user.
Yeah, internet user.
Internet user.
Oh, yeah, internet user. Yeah, he's the same one.
I love you, but I mean, this is just embarrassing. How many fucking languages do you know?
Not Japanese.
But you just read this one.
No, I didn't.
No,
because we got a comment
Isaac
from this person before.
He can Google.
Translated it.
No.
Yeah.
So, no, Isaac.
I mean, he knows ancient Greek. He speaks Russian fluently. I mean, he and
Okay. Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
We have gotten comments from this person before, and Isaac initially read it, and then was like, "Oh, it says internet user."
Yeah. It was a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just
so that was all Isaac.
You're still young enough to have a memory. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. 我的汉语比日本语好.
Okay. So anyway, the comment is, Aaron, how's the progress going for the 10th anniversary edition of the Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism? I can't wait to pre-order it. Cheers. I don't see myself doing an updated version of that. For one thing, that book began with the notion that with the famous quote that when fascism comes to America, it'll be wrapped in a flag and carrying a cross. Yeah, that was 10 years ago when that was news. We're well in it now. No.
I mean, I still think it's important to keep a record of the truth going, no matter, especially because they continue trying to burn it down. They never came for the guns first. They always came for the books. It's history horrifically repeating itself. And now we all find out what we would have done because we're there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep telling the truth and telling people who don't like it to fuck off.
Yeah, I'm actually writing a video about that right now. The reason the conservatives in the U.S. government do not want to teach history is because they don't want people to know what comes next.
Yeah.
But some of us who are old enough have seen this film before.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tomer.
Yeah, Arn was there during the Great War.
I'm sorry, what?
I said you were there during the Great War.
I'm a boomer. I'm a product of that war.
No. He just got the generational trauma. It's fine. We'll perpetrate that on the next couple of generations. It'll, in the new form, it'll be just delightful.
Yeah, I got to listen to all my grandparents telling the stories, what they lived through, all that.
Fun times.
Okay.
Are you done?
Should we do the next?
Yeah, Tomer, will you quit holding shit up?
Almost. I have to apologize because the server that we used to display the comments on screen crashed, and I can't get anyone to restart it. So for now, no comments on screen. Badly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That sucks.
Tomer, got any comment or not?
I'm done with chapter 6.
He's finished.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
So
Yeah,
chapter
we did the commentary and then I read it. So
Yeah,
he's done.
So Issachar, the sons of Issachar, chapter 7.
Yeah,
Can we get to
yeah.
that?
Yeah. Finally, something
Let's go.
sensible. Yeah. Who reads?
The sons of Issachar, Pua.
Tola.
Tola, Pua,
I know, it's making
Ashub, and
Pua.
Imran.
Oh no, there's
no.
so many Hebrew names in here. Should I read?
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah,
go
for
with it. Yeah, this one's fun.
And I think for
this
one, I think for this one you can probably just go straight through. I'm guessing because it's still it's all genealogy.
I think it's also a pretty short chapter now.
Just go.
40 verses.
Just read the bitch right.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
Pua,
Read it
for it.
yourself.
Jeshub, and Shimron. 4. The sons of Tola, Uzi, Raphiah, Jeriel, Jemai, Ibsam, and Shemuel, heads of their ancestral houses, namely of Toa, mighty warriors of their generations, their number in the days of David being 22,600. The son of Uzi, Izariah, and the sons of Izariah, Michael, Obadiah, Joel, and Ishiah, 5, all of them chiefs. And along with them, by their generations, according to their ancestral houses, were units of the fighting force, 36,000, for they had many wives and sons. And they took Trump's offer to every woman have 6 children so that we could get
But they only want white women to reproduce. They don't want to pay black and brown women.
Yeah. So their kindred belonging to all families of Issachar were in all 87,000 mighty warriors enrolled by genealogy. The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, and Jedidiah.
I know you know someone named Jedidiah.
Yediael.
Yeah. 3. The sons of Bela, Esbon, Uzziel, Jeremoth, and Eri. 5. Heads of ancestral houses, mighty warriors, and their enrollment by genealogies was 22,034. The sons of Becher, Zemariah, Joash, Eleazar, Eloah, I don't know, there's too many vowels in that word.
Elioenai.
What?
Elioenai.
Elioenai, if you say so. Omri, Jeremoth, Abijah, Anathoth, and Elameth. All these were the sons of Becher, and their enrollment by genealogies according to their generations as heads of their ancestral houses. Mighty warriors was 20,200. The son of Jediel, Bilhan, and the sons of Bilhan, Jush, Benjamin, Ehud, Chinana, Zithan, Tarshish. What is a fun name? Tarshish.
Tarshish appears a lot.
Ahishahar.
Kind of. Yep.
All these were the sons of Jediel, according to the heads of their ancestral houses. Mighty warriors, 17,200 ready for service in war. And Shupim and Hupim were the sons of Ir, Hushim, the son of Eher. The descendants of Naphtali, Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shalom, the descendants of Bilhah. The sons of Manasseh, Azriel, whom his Aramean concubine bore. She bore Machir, the father of Gilead. And Machir took a wife from Hupim and from Shupim. This is beginning to sound like Dr. Seuss. The name of his sister was Macha, and the name of his second was Zelophehad. And Zelophehad had daughters. Makkah, the wife of Machir, bore a son, and she named him Peresh. An unfortunate name on the battlefield. The name of his brother was Sheresh, and his sons were Ulam and Rekim. The son of Ulam, Bedan. These were the sons of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh. And his sister, Hamolakath, bore Ishad, Abiezer, and Malah. The sons of Shemida were Ahin, Shechem, Liki, and Aniam. The sons of Ephraim, Shetolah and Bered, his son, Tahath, his son, Eliada, his son, Tahath, his son, Zabad, his son, Shulatha, his son, and Ezer and Eliad. Now, the people of Galath, who were born in the land, killed them because they came down to raid their cattle. And their father Ephraim mourned many days, and his brothers came to comfort him. Ephraim went in to his wife, and she conceived and bore a son, and he named him Beriah, because disaster had befallen his house. His daughter was Shirah, who built both the lower and upper Beth Horon and Uzan Shirah. Rephah was his son, Resheph his son, Telah his son, Tahan his son, Ladan his son, Amohud his son, Elishama his son, Nun his son, Joshua his son. Their possessions and settlements were Bethel and its towns, and eastward Naran, and westward Gezer and its towns, Shechem and its towns, as far as Ayah and its towns. Also along the borders of the Manassites, Beth Shin and its towns, Tanakh and its towns, Megiddo and its towns, Dor and its towns, and in these lived the sons of Joseph, son of Israel. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Beriah, and their sister Sarah. The sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malkiel, who was the father of Berzeth. Heber became the father of Japhet, Shomer, Hatham, and their sister Shua. The sons of Japhet, Pashesh, Bimnal, and Ashvath. These are the sons of Japhet. The sons of Shemer, Ahi, Roga, Huba, and Aram. The sons of Hilim, his brother, Jophiah, Imnah, Shelish, and Amal. The sons of Zophah, Shua, Harnifer, Shual, Beri, Imra, Bezer, Hud, Shama, Shilshah, Ithran, and Bira. If I keep saying words like this, I'm afraid that I'm going to conjure something. The sons of
If you
Jether.
conjure a demon, just give it a sandwich, okay?
The sons of Jether, Jephunneh, Pispa, and Ara. The sons of Ula, Ara, Hamnah, and Rizia. All of these were men of Asher, heads of ancestral houses, select mighty warriors, chief of the princes. Their number enrolled by genealogies for a service in war was 26,000 men.
I guess a couple interesting things here about the warriors specifically selected were based on their ancestry, it seems. But then also I noticed this because I was like, there's not much. Hold on, this fucking cat is trying to eat some. Okay, dude, stop.
Your cat loves you. Quit bitching about it.
Yeah, he loves me so much that he's trying to eat cords.
It's a fucking goat.
So for what was I saying? Right. So because there is, at least for me, not much interesting about chapters like this, I was reading along with the Septuagint, and one thing I noticed that was different was in verse 7, where talks about the sons of Bela. It says that there were 5 heads of ancestral houses, mighty warriors, and their enrollment by genealogies was 22,000. A cat. Jesus
2034.
Christ. Yeah, 34. Okay, actually, never mind. I misread that. I thought it said 22,024. Never mind. Yeah, I was gonna say, the Septuagint disagrees, but no, it does not actually.
Okay.
Never mind.
I mean,
There was one place where Aaron read Tola as like the name of something, but in the Hebrew it's translated. Can't remember which verse it was.
Verse
What
1.
does Tola mean?
Tola, he appears here. It appears
No, verse
previously.
2.
It was in verse.
No,
I mean, Tola.
no, that's the sons of Tola. But then it says.
Oh,
okay. The base of a tam. La Tola Giborechal. Okay.
Yeah. Tola was a judge. If you remember, if you remember in Judges 10, I believe he appears. Tola, son of Pua.
Oh, okay. It's because
son of Pua. Okay.
Right. So in the Hebrew, it meant in the Hebrew it says and the sons of Tola, blah 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 blah, and then it says and then it says La Tola Giborechal, and then in the English that I have, I think it doesn't actually translate it. It just ignores that second mention of his name. Yeah. So it says and the sons of blah 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 to him. So in the English it just says chiefs of their clans, men of substance according to their lines. And I guess the English translation that Aaron had just mentioned his name twice.
Yeah.
More exact or more literal translation. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little etiology in there, if you noticed, with the Shira. What was it? Shira, the daughter of where is it? Shira, the daughter of Berea, the son that came from the second wife of Ephraim after he lost his first wife, I guess.
All his others, yeah.
Oh, his sons and stuff, yeah.
Shira.
This is supposed to something that's apparently happened this would have been something that happened before they even came down to Egypt, no? Or
I mean, this section is kind. I mean, this section in itself is kind of interesting.
Oh, what am I saying? This is the son of Ephraim, the son of Joseph, and Ephraim was born in Egypt. So, so I'm saying this could have been during the exile in Egypt, right? Joseph's son Ephraim has some children, a wife, and then they die. Although it doesn't make any sense, right? Because the story says that they were killed in the land. No.
I mean, it's an interesting passage because, well, at least according to Midrashic sources, they tell that Ephraim actually left Egypt too early and he was defeated by the Philistines.
Right, but it wasn't him by himself; it was his descendants, right? So it's
I mean, Ephraim,
right?
Yeah, I mean, Ephraim is the descendants, of course.
Right. But this story, it seems to imply that the where is it? The sons of Ephraim, blah 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 blah. The men of Gath, born in the land, killed them because they had gone down to take their cattle. So
I mean, I've written in my notes on this section. Though when we'll get to that, I'll mention it.
Yeah, because this is supposedly a story that takes place in the end of the book of Genesis, right? This is a story that's not mentioned anywhere else, and it seems to imply that, right, Joseph was the viceroy in Egypt. He had 2 sons while he was there with an Egyptian princess. No, not Egyptian princess. The daughter of
a priest.
The daughter of.
I mean,
what was his name?
These kind of digressions are not uncommon. They're also found in genealogies from ancient Mesopotamia and Greece, right?
That what? No, I'm just saying from the context of the of the Bible.
Yeah, but this section
it doesn't make any
interrupted,
sense.
right?
Like, who was killed? Like, I'm saying, where were they killed? They were killed. Was it that? I mean, where was this before the slavery happened? That there were Ephraim's children were they took their cattle to graze in Gath, which is in Philistine, right? It would have been one of the cities. Ashkelon, Gath, and
yeah, basically just the timeline isn't working out considering how.
Right. So this is like maybe when they were still important in Egypt, like Joseph was still alive, they went to graze their cattle like hundreds of however far away the Philistine is from Egypt, and they didn't know the way of the land, and the locals did, and they killed them, and then he mourned his son, so he married a new woman, and had some more children, and then this daughter, right? So we're talking about, so this story maybe happened before before the enslavement happened. He had a granddaughter from this new wife who built cities in Israel. How does that make sense?
It doesn't.
Right?
And that's
Upper
because
and lower.
Yeah, none of this makes any sense. Egypt was the garrisoning power, as we all know, in that area. But yeah, none of this would make the slightest bit of sense from the perspective of it being basically, you have to like read the whole enslavement and exodus into like the first maybe 4 generations. And then
unless you argue that they lived long and therefore like this daughter, she knows,
or they
great granddaughter. I mean, if you think about it, Moses and Aaron is also just they're also like only 3 generations away from the tribes, from the 12 sons. So I guess you could put it that Shira was left Egypt with them maybe, but then wouldn't she have died in the desert as being the first generation? All of them died.
Stop
trying to make sense,
applying logic to this clusterfuck and trying to retcon it with the bullshit that was already a retcon mythologizing thing. It doesn't work. We all know it doesn't work.
I mean,
it's a good question to ask a religious person. Be like, you're a biblical scholar. Can you answer this question? Yeah. Who is Shira? When did she live? What cities did she build?
Recite the whole genealogy.
Name every president or whatever the meme is.
Name.
I am going to start drinking. I swear to fuck.
I've already started, Lil.
Yeah, I have to drive after this because I have errands to run. This is the only reason I'm not high off my ass.
Yeah, I'll have to. I don't know. I just have to do anything like that. I don't have to do anything more challenging than chopping down a tree with a hacksaw.
Fun. At least it's not a herring.
That line has been fluttering through my head all day.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start on verses 1 through 5. Dirksen comment: the names of verse 1 derive from Numbers 26-24. There is no Old Testament tradition for the other names. Verses 2 through 5 are composed of data drawn from genealogies and census lists about the provenance of which nothing can be said. The linking element is the hand of the chronicler. This last includes the final count in verse 1, and probably also in verse 3. The time reference in verse 2, which we do not expect in a census list, may be intended by the chronicler to emphasize the historical character. Compare verse 5:17. The names Uzi, Rephaiah, Izraiah, and Isaiah occur only in Ezra, Nehemiah, and Chronicles, as well as in these books. Michael occurs in Numbers 13:13, Obadiah in Obadiah 1:1, and Joel in 1 Samuel 8:2 and Joel 1:1. These names must be derived from late lists or are from the hand of the chronicler himself. The relationship between the data of census and genealogy is unclear. The numbers are unrealistic for the second and third generations after the primogenitor Issachar. The internal relations are unclear too. Uzi comes after Tola genealogically, but has not witnessed the numbers being counted among the sons of Tola. Perhaps the chronicler put the census data for the population groups of Tola and Uzi, from what period, I don't know, in a genealogical framework. On verses 6 through 11, Knoppers comments, given the appearance of a more extensive genealogy of Benjamin in 8, 1 through 40, and a more focused Benjaminite genealogy in 935 through 44, commentators, most extensively Curtis and Madsen, have made a plausible case for a disturbance in the text. One expects Zebulun, found in 2:1, Genesis 46:14, Numbers 26, and 27, or Dan in 2:2, to appear, but not Benjamin, who appears twice later. To this, it can be added that Zebulun repeatedly appears elsewhere in the book as one of Israel's tribes, as was seen in 2:1, 6 verses 48 and 62, 12, 34, and 41. Nevertheless, if a Zebulunite genealogy was originally part of chapters 1 through 9, it is now lost to us. Attempts to rewrite verses 6 through 12 as Zebulunite on the basis of Genesis 46:14 have been executed more on the basis of literary critical considerations than on the basis of text critical evidence. None of Zebulun's 3 sons known from Genesis 46:14 and Numbers 26:26 occurs in 1 Chronicles 7, 6 through 12, and only with severe emendation can their names be made to appear in the text. Conversely, some of Benjamin's sons do occur in Genesis 46:21, Numbers 26, 38, and 39. To be sure, there are also features of the genealogy of verses 6 through 11 that are unparalleled or problematic, but such features do not constitute a positive argument for a Zebulunite identity.
Right, because we're going to get in chapter 8, like 2 other... Or another, at least another version of the Benjaminites, and some of the names are similar. Like Bela comes up, and Bela has a son. No, actually, none of the sons' names match. But like, that's maybe the only connection. And there's a whole bunch of Benjaminites that are mentioned that don't really have like. There's no full tree. It's just like the sons of blah 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 was this, and who was he? No one knows. Like there's Shishak and Yeraham and. Saul's family tree only goes up 3 family, Saul, son of Kish, son of Ner, and that's it. It does make sense because Zebulun and
someone at the time who was trying to establish a lineage at the time it was written. But
it does make kind of sense that maybe this part shouldn't be about Benjamin. Maybe it should be Zebulun, because I don't think Chronicles, as Thomas said, Chronicles doesn't besides when it mentions Israel's 12 sons and it says Zebulun and Dan, neither of those are given like any more mention. It doesn't mention their children or families or anything. And the thing is, this part, right, if you were to argue maybe this is supposed to be Zebulun instead of Benjamin, the names don't match up with the names in, where did you say they were, Tomer? Exodus? Where are the sons of Zebulun mentioned?
Genesis 46:14, Numbers.
Genesis, yeah.
Genesis.
Right. So, yes, I guess he has like 4 sons somewhere. Is that what it is? Something like that. 3 sons.
I agree with Matt White. Let us not go to Gilead. 'Tis a silly place.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so on verse 12, Shupim and Chupim are mentioned here without an introduction, and as Japhet notes, it seems like their mention is a continuation of Benjamin's list with 3 more father households, 2 sons of Ir and 1 son of Acher. The name Ir is similar to Eli, which might be a corruption of one of the names of Benjamin. Of one of the names in Benjamin, such as Achi in Genesis 36:21, Achiram in Genesis 26:38, Achra in 1 Chronicles 8:1, etc. Though some traditionals like PSGD and Kimchi take Ir and Iri to be the same person. Thus, Williamson... Sorry.
Bela, you're saying? Like the grandson of Benjamin, Iri, the son of Bela.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense as well.
Yeah. Thus, Williamson suggested that verse 12 is a fragmentary series of Benjaminite names, added without connecting to the preceding. Several commentators note Klostermann's suggestion that verse 12 is a corrupt reading of Dan's genealogy, based on the following observations. 1. According to Genesis 46:23, Dan had only one son, Hushim. 2. Septuagint, he reads his son and not the sons of. 3. Shupim and Chupim probably belong to Benjamin's genealogy, which only includes 3 sons, and are probably a gloss for verse 6. He suggested that the text should read, the sons of Dan, Hushim, his son 1. While Klostermann's proposal is generally accepted, Klein notes that the biggest difficulty in his proposal is that Dan and Il bear almost no resemblance to one another in Hebrew. Instead, he suggests that the absence of Dan can be explained either as an accident. Naphtali's genealogy originally followed Dan's and Zebulun's, but the latter two were accidentally lost, or as intentional.
It looks like the traditional commentaries also seem to think that the chronicler, they associate the chronicler with Ezra.
Yeah.
That he didn't know, he wasn't sure. So the son of Acher could also mean the son of someone else. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
The literally traditional thing is like, yeah, the person who wrote this wasn't sure if who the father of Portion was.
I guess. Oh, I should check the Targum as well, because it loves to
add stuff.
Add a lot of stuff. Yeah. I don't know what it actually says. It says Shupim and Chupim who dwelt in the town of Hushim were sons of Acher.
Oh, because the Ir means city.
Ir, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Were the sons of who?
The sons of Acher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it takes 2 orphan nodes and combines them into 1 orphan node. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. My internet doesn't want to respond. Okay, so on verse 13. On verse 13. Verse 13 is a repetition of Genesis 46:24 with 3 slight differences. A slight spelling change in of Yachziel and Shallum's name. A slight spelling change in Yachziel and Shallum's names, with Yachziel appearing without the Yud letter and Shilem without the Vav in the Genesis reading, and the word Ele, these are omitted from the original. These were the sons of Bilhah in Genesis 46:25. It is unclear if the word Ele was deliberately omitted or was dropped due to an error.
Oh, Pseudo Rashi has a little story here. So Ezra. So apparently it's in Talmud, in the Rishalmi Talmud in Megillah. Ezra found 3 books, and each one of them contained part of the genealogy. That which he found, he did not write. And of the sons of Naphtali, he did not find any more. For this reason, the entire genealogy is traced with omissions, because he skipped from one book to another and combined them. And that which he could not write in this book, he wrote in the book of Ezra. You should know that this is true, because it is written close by, in chapter 9, and all Israel traced their genealogy, and behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel. And Judah was exiled to Babylon because of its treachery. The meaning is that if you wish to know the genealogy of the 10 tribes, go to Babylonia, Media, because their annals were exiled with them. But for Judah, I found their records in Babylon, and that which I found, I wrote. So it seems to be an excuse for saying why Ezra wrote this. Why did he omit so much stuff? He's like, oh, there are books, you don't need them. But for the Judahites, I wrote down everything I could find.
I only had access to the Judahite ones. It's not my fault. I just had to ignore everybody else. I'm not playing favorites, I swear.
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on 14 through 19, commentators note that Manasseh's genealogy given here is riddled with severe difficulties. For example, in verse 14, Asriel is the only offspring of Manasseh, but according to Numbers 26, 30, and 31, he was the son of Gilead. In verse 15, Zelophehad is mentioned without an explicit connection to the genealogy, is called the second without any reference to the first, and elsewhere he is identified as the son of Hefer, son of Gilead, son of Machir, in Numbers 26, 32, and 33, and Joshua 17, 3. In verse 19, Shemidah, who was one of Gilead's sons, according to Numbers 26:32, is mentioned here without any explicit connection to Manasseh. All these difficulties led many commentators to suggest various emendations. It is unclear where these difficulties came from, and either have already existed in the sources used by the chronicler, or that it was deliberately manipulated, or was damaged by subsequent scribal errors, or a combination of all.
I do appreciate that at least the Jewish commentary is honest about the fact that there is such a thing as scribal error. The amount of contortions Christians will get into to pretend that's totally not a thing, except when it's just a tiny thing, but it doesn't really matter anyway, I swear, guys.
Yeah, I think the idea of textual infallibility is maybe a later idea. At least some of the books are considered, even within the actual Tanakh, within the Hebrew Bible, weren't considered infallible.
Yeah.
And you needed like the oral tradition.
I've said before, I obviously come from a Christian perspective. That was my upbringing and that's my culture. But, you know, Catholics worship the church structure. Protestants worship the Bible in various forms.
So the thing is, like, when it comes to the infallibility of these things, firstly, there's the issue of like what's accepted as canon, and that's going to be different from period to period, from church to church.
Very true.
And secondarily, in like the second and third centuries, even, there were, you know, some of the early church fathers. They realized potential issues with the text, and they rationalized all these things to be like, oh, if there's a contradiction, well, that's because one of them is literally true and one of them is spiritually true, or stupid shit like that, which is the fattest cop out.
Oh, the copium is strong.
It's I know,
mean, it makes sense. What is spiritually true is not real in reality. So
right. The whole thing is spiritually true.
Yeah.
Does that mean that spiritual trivialism is true in spiritual? Never mind. Sorry.
There's also I forget what verse it is, but there's the verse that says all of Scripture is inspired, where the actual translation is like it's God breathed, but the issue with that is that God breathed could just mean like life giving. If you like consider like Adam, for example. Yes, in the New Testament, yeah.
Okay, I don't care.
But that was, you know, it's a very important verse for Christians, because if they are inspired, or by some believed to be, like, when they say written by the Holy Spirit, they literally mean that like while it was being written, like the Holy Spirit inhabited the writers.
Yeah, that's like a Faldwell level of bullshit. But
that was a very early belief in the church.
Yeah, I mean, Judaism also has it. We call it Ruach HaKodesh, which you could think of it as the Holy Spirit translation, but it's normally refers to like, you know, like a holy person is able might do something or say something, not necessarily like consciously, and they know that they've said something that's true, or they've made a prediction that will come true, or something like that, like almost prophecy, but not quite. Because Jews also believe that prophecy ended during the Babylonian exile or something about that time.
Like proper official prophecy, but you might still have someone get a touch of the
was given to the fools. Something like that.
Is that what it says? Given to,
in
Chazalic literature, I think it was given to the fools.
That explains Christianity.
Not the graffiti artists.
Well, who's the danger noodle? I'm sorry, I know you don't want to worry about the Christians, Tamara, but they are the Nazis again this time, so we kind of need to, you know, keep a bead on them.
Oh, not again.
Okay.
I know. We did this 100 years ago. It did not go well then. It's not going to go well now. Jesus.
Okay, so on 21 through 24, sorry. You are muted, Arin.
You have to introduce us to your pretty danger noodle.
There we go.
I wasn't talking, so I don't know why people were saying I was muted.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, this is Nebulosa, my Argentinian boa.
Hello, pretty.
That's cool.
Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Where are we up to?
21.
21.
Yes. 21 through 24. This section interrupts the genealogy, which continues in verse 25. Knoppers writes that the function of this section is partially genealogical, explaining the birth of Ephraim's son Beriah and the construction activities of his daughter She'erah. He notes that anecdotes and narrative digressions were common in genealogies from ancient Mesopotamia and Greece. Some commentators have tried to find a historical nucleus within the story. Late Midrashic literature, like the Targum, Talmud Sanhedrin 92b, and Targum on Canticles 2:7, tell that Ephraim left Egypt too early and was defeated by the Philistines. Albright suggested that this is evidence for the presence of Israelite tribes in central Palestine before the invasion of Joshua. Klein suggested that the clause, quote, preserves a historical memory of hostile relationships between the Ephraimites and the local residents during which the Ephraimites had attempted to steal their cattle, end quote. Others suggest that this anecdote represents the unique perspective of the chronicler, according to Japhet, or that it presents a later anti-Ephraimite or Samaritan slant, according to Dirksen.
Okay, so the traditional explanation is that actually this son, this little family of Ephraim actually left Egypt while Ephraim was still alive, went to Canaan and were killed by the Philistines.
Yeah.
And then what was his name? Beriah was born, and then She'erah. Okay. I guess. I mean, that fits in with the timeline, but yeah, it's a bit weird. I always thought that I thought the story was that they went up and they were killed on the road. I didn't realize that they went all the way to Philistine, but or the people. I guess the men of Gath came down to.
Well, when you're not following God, it only takes 2 weeks. So.
yeah, that's true.
Because God
they took the fast road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I didn't know it was supposed to be that early. I thought it was something that happened like after Moses was born already or something. But okay. Like isn't it the whole thing that they miscalculated the number in the prophecy or something? Isn't that part of the story?
Yeah.
So how would they have?
Yeah, I mean the Targum has like a kind of a long explanation. They had made a mistake, for it would have been more correct if they had made the calculation from the day that Isaac was born.
Right, which is the traditional the traditional calculation is the day that Isaac was born plus 400 and how many years is it? 410 years?
I guess.
What's the prophecy of how long they'd be in Egypt? That sounds too long, though.
430, I think.
430 years, right?
Yeah.
And they calculated it. I guess they must have calculated it from earlier.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
how could they have think? Oh, we were in exile in Egypt for 430 years, and they were literally only there for like, I don't know, 40 years at that point. And they're like, oh yeah, let's just calculate that from some random date in the past. That makes sense. Even the traditional year doesn't make any sense. Why calculate it from the birth year of Isaac? It's just an excuse, an apologetic why the Bible has a prophecy that says 430 years, and then if you actually count it, it seems a lot less. And then they're like, oh no, it's because they counted it from earlier. Because when Isaac was born, it was like they had gone into exile already or something. It's very stupid, but whatever.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. On 27,
we have a comment that maybe not. Okay.
Wait, no, I haven't seen it. Okay, on 27, Joshua. Knoppers comment. According to many commentators, the genealogy from Ephraim in verse 20 to Joshua is too long and needs to be paired. The lineage may reflect a process of duplication. Note the appearance of Shutela in verses 20 and 21 and Telach in verse 25, Tachat in verse 20 twice, and Tachan in verse 25. But Chronicles contains other instances of long linear genealogies. Aside from its extraordinary depth, two other facets of the Ephraimite lineage are remarkable. First, it features a person who is otherwise neglected in Chronicles, i.e. Joshua. Second, the genealogy has an interesting endpoint. The author makes no attempt to link a pivotal figure in the period of the Israelite settlement, i.e. Joshua, to more recent figures in the tribe of Ephraim, even though he obviously took pains to compose the lineage itself. Assuming a calculation of 20 years per generation, the Ephraimite lineage of verses 20 through 21a and 25 through 27 is too short to be fully reconciled with the chronologies reflected in hexatucal traditions. Hexatucal, yeah, it includes the Joshua as well.
Oh, the six,
Joshua
six
and Judges.
Yeah, although I don't think there has been any evidence of like a hexateuch on its own. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
So when they say hexateuch there, so they're saying that Joshua and Judges.
It's a scholarly construct to refer to.
But Joshua,
but
it includes Joshua and Judges as one book.
I think it's just Joshua.
Yeah, Joshua is hexa.
Oh, it's just Joshua.
There's also
okay.
Yeah, but there's also like if they include Judges, it's also Septa or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Who's a pretty girl?
Okay, that makes sense.
This is actually a boy though, but he this is Flair, named after. The thing is, I named him after. You could say Ric Flair, but I'm going with Charlotte Flair, because she is the far better wrestler and the far better person than Ric Flair.
Agreed.
I mean, as a wrestler, no, Ric Flair is actually fucking solid, or was solid, but Charlotte's really good too. So.
Who's a cookie?
Yeah. So this Joshua ben Nun being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 generations removed from Ephraim, who remember is the nephew of Levi, right? That's another generation up to Joseph. And then him living around the same time as Moses, who's only 3, 4 generations away from Levi. That doesn't really make sense. But you could argue that they all had kids really young, but
they did that.
Moses. I mean, there is an idea that says that like Moses was, parents were very old when he was born and stuff like that. I mean, it's also, I think there's also a possibility like Aaron and Miriam were much older than him as well, because there was like a whole idea that they separated and then they came back together. They remarried and then Moses was born. Apparently like Miriam like told him off and be like, oh, that Pharaoh is killing all the boys, but by you telling the men to separate from their wives, you're killing the girls as well. So he remarried. So he remarried and then had Moses. Yeah.
Love how Aaron didn't manage to get himself killed.
Well, I guess he must have been a bit older. He wasn't a baby when the decree was. Yeah.
Okay, so finally, 30 through 40, Johnstone comments, the names of Asher, his 4 sons, his daughter, and his 2 grandsons by his youngest son, 8 names in all, in verses 30 and 31a, are known from Genesis 46:17. Possibly Japhet is the progenitor of the Japhletites of Joshua 16:3, but they are on the wrong side of the Ephraimite boundary. The names of the remaining Asherites are not found elsewhere in the Hebrew Bible. Once again, this material, which is peculiar to the chronicler, has suffered damage in transmission. It is not certain that Shemer in verse 34 is the same as Shomer in verse 32, or that Helem in verse 35 is the same of Hotham in verse 32, or Yether in verse 38 as Yithran in verse 37, or Ula in verse 39 as Ara in verse 38. It is not clear, therefore, just how many generations are represented here, a maximum of 8, or how many individuals are mentioned by name, 40, assuming the identity above, and provided that Bilzaith in verse 32 is a place name, location unknown. For the formulation father of before a place name, compare 1 Chronicles 2:42-55. If these identifications do not hold, then the number of people mentioned rises to 45.
Yeah, the Ular and Yeter could be just like, no genealogy, random Asherites that they wanted to mention, or as you said, you could identify them with some other names that are spelled different, which are similar. Although I'm not sure which ones. Okay.
Yeah, that's it for the commentary of this section.
Cool.
All right, are we moving on to 8?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can do 8.
All right.
You can read all of it. It's 40 verses.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Benjamin became the father of Bela, his firstborn, Ashbel the second, Ahara the third, Noha the fourth, and Rapha the fifth. And Bela had sons, Adar, Gera, Abihud, Abishua, Abihakshua.
Shut up.
What?
Hi, never mind.
Naaman, Ahoa, Gera, Shafufan, and Huram. These are the sons of Ehud. They were heads of ancestral houses of the inhabitants of Geba, and they were carried into exile to Manahath. This cat is trying to eat things he shouldn't eat. Get out of here, man. I'm pretty sure he has pica. Naaman, Ahaya, and Gera, that is Heglam, who became the father of Uzzah, and Abihud. And Shaharaim had sons in the country of Moab after he had sent away his wives Hushim and Ba'ara. Holy shit, dude, you can't eat that. Hold on. Dude, get out of here. Go. Get out. Get out of here. Go. Leave.
Give him a
Okay.
catnip toy.
Go. Shoo. Okay. Where the hell am I? All right. He had
8.
sons. And Shaharaim had sons in the country of Moab after he had sent away his wives Hushim and Ba'ara. He had sons by his wife Hodesh, Yobab, Zibia, Mesha, Malkam, Yeuz, Sakia, and Mirma. These were his sons, heads of ancestral houses. He also had sons by Hushim, Abitub, and Elpa'al. The sons of Elpa'al, Eber, Misham, and Shemed, who built Ono and Lod with its towns. And Beria and Shema, they were heads of ancestral houses of the inhabitants of Ayalon, who put to fight the inhabitants of Gath. And Ahio, Shashak, and Yeremoth, Zebediah, Arad, Eder, Michael, Ishpa, and Yoha were the sons of Beriah. Zebediah, Meshulam, Hizkah, Heber, Ishmariah, Isliah, and Yobab were the sons of Elpa'al. Yakim, Zikri, Zabdi, Elani, Zilathai, Eliel, Abdiah, Beriah, and Shimrath were the sons of Shemai. Ishpan, Eber, Eliel, Abdon, Zikri, Hanan, Hananiah, Elam, Anthathiah, Ifdiah, and Penuel were the sons of Shashak. Shemsharai, Shahariah, Athaliah, holy shit, Ya'arashia, Elijah, and Zikri were sons of Yehoram. These were the heads of ancestral houses according to the generations. Chiefs, these lived in Jerusalem. Yael, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon, and the name of his wife was Ma'akah. His firstborn son, Abdon, then Zur, Kish, Baal, Nadab, Gedor, Ahio, Zecher, and Mikloth, who became the father of Shemaiah. Now these also lived opposite their kindred in Jerusalem with their kindred. Ner became the father of Kish, Kish of Saul, Saul of Jonathan, Melchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbaal. And the sons of Jonathan were Mirabal, and Meribaal became the father of Micah. The sons of Micah, Pithon, Melech, Tarea, and Ahaz. Ahaz became the father of Jehoiada, and Jehoiada became the father of Elameth, Asmaveth, and Zimri. Zimri became the father of Mosa. Mosa became the father of Benia. Rapha was his son. Elisa, his son. Azel, his son. Azel had 6 sons, and these are their names: Azrikam, Bokeru. That's a very interesting name. Ishmael,
Bochel, sorry.
Shariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. These were the sons of Azel. The sons of his brother Eshek, Ulam his firstborn, Yeush the second, and Eliphelet the third. The sons of Ulam were mighty warriors, archers, having many children and grandchildren, 150. All these were Benjaminites. I holy shit. My everything hurts. So the one name that stood out to me though was Bokeru. That was a very interesting name.
Yeah.
Bochel.
It says also, that's interesting. It says or his firstborn.
I mean if you read it Bechoro, right?
Yeah.
Which
see, okay.
it also appears. Bechoro appears in 39 also. So maybe wait,
because this doesn't sound
38.
Because like a lot of these other ones,
Yeah.
they have very Hebrew sounding names.
Well,
in many cases, or at least like for the region, they have names that are like familiar or contain like El or Baal. Like they have theophoric names, but also names that just sound more. I don't know. This one just would.
Oh, so apparently, so the name Bechoro, which means his firstborn, is found in all other translations and some Hebrew manuscripts. Bochru is only the Masoretic text. So
probably the original was like Azrikam, his
firstborn. Yeah, his firstborn.
That would make a lot more sense.
So Knoppers writes that this ensures that Azel had 6 sons.
It makes it a little weird because in the next section
it says he had 6 sons.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you don't include Bochru as a son, then you only have 5 names mentioned.
But we had mistakes like that before, right? So it's not like
Also, this whole section, you first of all, this is our second Benjaminite chronology, and it doesn't match up really with the first one. And also, it so you end up with this. So you have like a normal family tree. You got the sons of Benjamin, Bela, the sons of Bela, a bunch of sons, Abihud, Ehud, then a few sons, with the whole weird thing with like them being exiled and Gera being called Heglam, or maybe Heglam means he exiled them, whatever. And then you get like a skip or a disconnect, and then you have a story with Shaharayim and his 2 wives and blah blah blah, and a bunch of names, and it goes El Pa'el and Beria. We then get another El Pa'al with different names, sons. So Shaharayim has like 2 wives. One of his wives is called Hushim, and he has a son called El Pa'al. And there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sons named. One of them is called Shashak, which might be the Shashak in the next in the next few verses. But like it then gives you a whole different El Pa'al with different names, sons.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get Shimi. Who's Shimi? No one knows. Then you have a Shashak. Maybe that's the same Shashak as mentioned before, but maybe not. It's a disconnect. We then get like, we mentioned Gibeon, his father, his mother's name, a bunch of sons, and one of his sons is called Kish. But then we get another Kish, but his father isn't Gibeon. His father is Ner, who's the father, and this Kish is the father of Saul. And then we have a bunch of family stuff going into then we go like a bunch of generations from King Saul going down, his son Jonathan, Meribal, Micah, Ahaz, Jehoiada, Zimri, blah 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 blah, all the way down to who? Eliphelet, Ben Eshak, Obadiah, Ishmael, this Bochru that we met, Azrikam. Like, what's the connection? Like, who are these people all the way at the end of this tree? The descendants of King Saul, I guess. But that's it. And you're trying to like, how do they all fit together? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I guess if you really stretch it, you could argue maybe that Ner is Gibeon, maybe Gibeon, the son of Jael, maybe you could find the name in one of the other parts where it matches, but no, it's all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a comment from Lloyd who says, "Hello, I was raised with Kent Hovind and Answers in Genesis. What is the best way to deconstruct?"
Bulldozer.
Yeah, Lilith, I think you're going to be a better one to give the answer to that one because I was never indoctrinated to that level.
You're muted,
Yeah,
Lilith.
Sorry. There's various stages. If you're cognizant of what is wrong with that, you're already past the sort of emotional disengagement that you need to get through to let go of the kind of, at least the initial tendency to just stop thought that contradicts what you have. I found various YouTubers that really broke down and explained Hovindisms specifically because there's a lot of nonsense that goes with that. I've watched Aaron's Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism series, obviously. I watched Logic taking apart John, the chemist guy. What's his name? You know the guy I mean, right?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Pendleton.
Pretend to be a scientist.
Scientist, mid-husband.
John Pendleton.
Pendleton, yeah, he would copy all of Hovind's material, but he was less arrogant and punchable, so that's always enjoyable, just to not have to deal with Hovind because he makes me itchy. But also, while that helped to break down the direct lies of creationism, it didn't give me a full understanding of the depth and beauty of evolution and evolutionary understanding. For that, I would actually recommend RN's Systematic Classification of Life, because that is fucking beautiful. That is actually focused in on evolution, as opposed to when you're dealing with Hovind, you have to kind of get a little bit of everything because he tries to apply it to physics, chemistry, biochemistry, geography, geology, biostratigraphy.
Yeah, all history, subjects he doesn't know.
Everything under science in half of history. So he doesn't know what he's fucking talking about on anything.
You know, it's a really good book for like evidence for evolution too. Is and for all of his flaws, it is still a very good book. The Greatest Show on Earth from Dawkins. Yeah, it's very good.
He does have some amazing work, but there's two elements. There's breaking down the indoctrination, the thought-stopping techniques, and the completely false understanding of evolution that you have as a creationist, because you have no idea what evolution is as a creationist. You have this ridiculous lie that you're shadowboxing with, and nobody... so you have to like break that down and then learn the actual science, which is an entirely different subject that has nothing whatsoever to do with the monster that they're boxing with. Yeah, Ancestor's Tale too, another one, really amazing.
I mean, as someone who grew up, creationist and young Earth creationist and geocentric, whatever, like I think deconstructing from those ideas is one thing, but then deconstruction from religion as a whole is very different. And you need like a different perspective on both. I feel like maybe it's a lot easier to get out of the first stage and be like, actually, maybe this more liberal version of the religion I grew up with makes more sense. And if it's comfortable, you might not go further, but I would argue that you want to like deconstruct everything that you believe in the same way. If you realize that what you've been brought up with is wrong on one level, then that should wake you up to the idea that maybe the fundamental ideas that you identify with that make sense to you now, that they could also be wrong.
They do also need to be questioned, and it's a very long process. I would say kind of figure out what you want to address first, and also be patient with yourself. Like, you had years of having people with very manipulative tactics, consciously or unconsciously, implanting specific ideas into you. You don't get over that in a day and a half. So give yourself a little grace, take it one thing at a time. And if something is bugging you, like, write it down, make a note. Maybe you're going to come back to it later. Okay. You can't completely rework your entire system of thought this week. It's just not feasible. So be nice to yourself, be kind, take it one step at a time, and don't be afraid to make a note and say, I will come back to that when I have the space, because I am dealing with this right now.
Sounds good.
So, that's my advice.
Did we finish? Thomas, did you start on this chapter?
We have a few more comments.
Yeah, I see it. So we had a super sticker for $1.99 Australian. Thank you. And then we have Satan616 says, Hovind copied everything from Dwayne Gish. Cunt isn't even an original. That's true. And then Puggles offers $5 Australian and says, yep, the systematic classification of life series by Aaron Ra changed and saved my life. Thank you, Aaron. That's why your show is worth me waking up at 3 a.m.
3 a.m. That's when
I
go
love
to
you,
bed if I'm
Puggles.
lucky.
I love you. Thank you for coming. And yeah, it's amazing. I showed my dad and he was like, I did not expect the guy who looked like that to be giving me this information. This is cool.
Yeah.
He liked it. He liked things that subverted expectations. That was totally a vibe.
The other theories that's very good is how X disproves the flood. Very good.
Oh yeah, flood. They thought, yeah, that's a fun one.
I don't know what the name of the playlist is, but yeah.
Disproving
how
Noah's
everything
flood.
disproves Noah's flood.
Aaron Ra disproves the flood is the name of the playlist. I just linked that to a creationist who said that Aaron is wrong, but he can't find a timestamp or any scientific paper to prove that Aaron was wrong. So I've been waiting for an answer.
Scientific community is
for over
a
week. Over a week, and he still can't find it.
Because remember, the most intelligent people have nothing to do with any actual knowledge. They're all just part of cabal and spend all their time trying to fool idiots. That's the most sensible explanation, but not that you could be wrong.
In all fairness, I have asked this guy to show me a contemporary writer that talked about Jesus, and he said the entire Old Testament. Not kidding.
The Old Testament.
The Old Testament.
Contemporary.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus fuck. Okay. All right.
Missing every part of that assignment.
Yeah, I can't wait until like Christians go past that period with AI where they're just falling for really stupid, obvious AI memes with like 160-year-old man with a birthday cake or whatever, and AI Jesus who turns into a dog for some reason or whatever. Like when they start using AI to create evidence for their things, and like see,
they're not already doing that.
I haven't seen like AI generated like scientific papers or pictures of the art or something. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, but many students use ChatGPT, unfortunately.
Yeah. And dishonor on their cows. However, it's the conspiracies are obviously going to be very funny.
Just ask ChatGPT, and you see you saying that ChatGPT is wrong. Stupid.
Okay, so can I please start with the commentary?
Please do.
Yes. So on verses 1 and 2, the number of Benjamin's children is inconsistent in the Bible. 7:6 lists 3 children, and Genesis 46:21 lists 10 children, though Septuagint there has 3. Numbers 26, 38, and 39 has 5 children, but their names are Bela, Ashbel, Achiram, Shefufam, and Chupim. Knoppers writes that from a sociological vantage point, the discrepancies may reflect shifting claims and competing assertions about Benjaminite bloodlines over the course of time. He notes that in the ancient world, genealogies could be updated or modified to adapt to new circumstances. Though the cumulative effect of such activities is, quote, a series of discordant Benjaminite lineages, end quote, it reminds us of Herodotus' habit of providing his readers with the dual or multiple accounts given to him by his sources. He doesn't attempt to reconcile all of the details in these contradictory traditions. Thus, quote, by relying competing stories, Herodotus leaves his audience with the critical task, should they choose to exercise it, of sifting through and evaluating the evidence.
Respect for your readers. That's not something we do much nowadays.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Okay, so on verses 3 through 7, commentators note several issues with this passage. The name Gera repeats twice in verses 3 and 5. The title, These are the sons of Ehud, in verse 6, is difficult, since Ehud is not mentioned previously, and after the opening, These are the sons of, there is no name list, and verse 7's location in the current context is unclear. This has led several scholars, like Curtis and Madsen, Rudolph, Klein, and Knoppers, to amend this passage, such as amending Avihud in verse 3 to Avi Ehud, the father of Ehud, changing Ehud to Ehud, and placing the title, These are the sons of Ehud, from verse 6 to verse 4, with the assertion that all the names in verses 4 and 5 are Ehud's sons. Japhet suggested that after the title, These are the sons of Ehud, in verse 6, several names were omitted, and of the names in verse 7, only Naaman is original, while the 2 others, Achia and Gera, were accidentally added under the influence of verses 4 and 5.
Well, that is
yeah, it's a bit weird. Also, is there a connection between this Uzzah and the end of the chapter where it says like the what does it say? The sons of the Uzzahites or something like that?
Where?
Oh no, maybe it's Ulam. Yeah, maybe I'm getting confused with something else. Okay.
Okay, so on verse 8, Shacharaim is not attested elsewhere. It has been suggested that Shacharaim was part of Benjamin's genealogy, according to Kimchi, with some like Gersonides, Japhet, and Knoppers saying that this was Huram of verse 5 or Achara in verse 1. Klein suggested that Sha'araim's presence in Moab may have taken place when Moab was under Israel's control, after the victory of the judge Ehud over Eglon, or in the 9th century before the rise of Mesha. He writes that his divorce from his earlier wives may indicate the uprooting of his portion of the tribe of Benjamin and its immigration to Moab. The name of Shacharaim's first wife, Hushim, is also the name of Dan's son in Genesis 46:23. This has led some scholars to see his name as a corruption, but Japhet writes that from an eponymous point of view, this is exactly the genealogical point of the passage. The only son of Dan is a wife, quote-unquote, of another from Benjamin, i.e. a secondary element in the same family. Chazal in Ruth Rabbah 4:1 wrote that Shacharaim was Boaz, but Pseudo-Kara rejects this since Boaz was a Judite. Yeah.
Yeah, Boaz was a Judite, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a relative to...
Yeah, he was like David's grandfather or great-grandfather? Great-grandfather. Yeah. Salmon, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, David.
Although Salmon is only in the New Testament.
Yeah. Wait. No, they got them from somewhere.
I think in the New Testament, Rachav is the wife of Salmon, the son of...
Yeah, it is in the Matthew genealogy.
But I think in the Jewish tradition, it's Boaz married Rachav. Sorry, not Rachav.
Ruth. No, Boaz married Ruth. It's the inclusion of Rahab from the whole Jericho situation that was also
which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Whatever. It's the Bible. It doesn't make sense.
Maybe it's not Selman. Maybe it's a different one in the same genealogy where the Rahab married the son of the person who married her in the Jewish tradition. Yeah.
Could be.
Comment from Say10-616. Aaron should do a piece on Dwayne Gish. He is the last common ancestor of anti-evolution apologists.
The good old Gish Gallop.
Yeah. I saw a beautiful debate with him when he was talking about evolution, how evolution is just a theory, and he was debating against some science teacher who had these huge rubber gloves and this massive exposed wire, and it says, well, chemistry or electricity is a theory too, and if Dwayne Gish would like to test that theory, he can grab this wire.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a theory.
Okay, on verse 13, according to the biblical literature, Gath was a Philistine city and is not assigned to any of the Israelite tribes in Joshua. Several scholars following Benjamin Mazar suggested that Gath refers to Gitaim, double Gath, modern Ras Abu Humeid, west of Gezer and east of Ramla. The names Beria and Shema do not appear in the previous verses. Knoppers notes that in earlier texts, Beria is associated with Asher, found in Genesis 46:17 and Numbers 26:44 and 45, and Ephraim in 1 Chronicles 7:23. He notes that because of the reoccurrence of the name Beria, many scholars see a connection with the incident described in 7:21. He also notes Kalai's opinion that land that earlier had been associated with or claimed by Ephraim came to be associated with Benjamin. Alternatively, he writes, quote, Chronicles may preserve competing claims to the same territory by different groups, end quote.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
On verse 28, Dirksen comments, the aforementioned Benjaminite families lived in Jerusalem, but it is not entirely clear whether verse 28 refers to the sons of Jehoram in verses 26 forward, or all the families mentioned in verses 14 through 27. This last is more probable because in this interpretation, verse 28 is a conclusion of a passage corresponding to verses 6, Geba, 10, Moab, 12, Ono, Lod, 13, Ayalon. Rashim, heads, is syntactically isolated and is striking in terms of content too. Rothstein and Myers delete it. Rudolph moves the end of the verse to verse 14. Brown believes that we have a conflation of two formulas here. But if something went wrong with the text, this must have happened in the text of the source. The duplicate in 934 indicates incontrovertibly that this verse in this form, in this place, was adopted by the chronicler from his source. On 29 through 32, this section is repeated in 935 through 38, which adds several corrections to this section. Gideon's father is named Ye'iel in 935, which Lucianic recension specifies in the present verse, and Ner and Milkoth are added as Ye'iel's sons in 936 and 37. Dirksen suggested that these names were originally included in the text of this chapter, and the chronicler took over the two parallel passages of chapters 8 and 9 from his source, which means that the names were in the source text, and were initially incorporated in chapter 8 too, but were dropped later. Klein notes Williamson's opinion that the presence of the name Baal implies the relative antiquity of this section of the Benjaminite genealogy. Compare 5.5. Though Dembski notes that Kish is a clan in its own right in the horizontal genealogy, and therefore argues for the lateness of verse 30.
There was a lot of coming up with excuses why they could occasionally be friends with certain groups and they were to be included, but not really, but sort of. So it's all over the place.
Yeah. Sorry, I just found something interesting in the Targum. They call. Yeah, but the reason that they called him Ner is because he used to light the lamps in the schools and synagogues, and this merit enabled Saul, his grandson, to become king. For kingship is compared to a lamp.
So you're saying that Ner is just a nickname for Gibeon?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a lamplighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for that reason, his descendant could be king, but only for 5 minutes, and then we kill him.
Yeah. And finally, 33 through 40, Dirksen comments, a separate problem is formed by verses 33 through 40. In the present context, these verses continue the preceding passage, but it is highly doubtful whether these two passages belong together originally. The principal argument for this is that Saul belongs with Gibeah, not with Gibeon, a place with which he is connected in a negative way in 2 Samuel 21:1 forward. The mention of Kish, and probably Ner, in the first passage may have occasioned a secondary addition, according to Rudolph and Myers. If we accept the original separateness of the two passages, when did this addition take place? Rudolph sees all of chapter 8 as a later addition. At some stage, the genealogy of Saul was added to verses 1 through 32. If we assume that chapter 8 is by the chronicler, the question is whether he connected the two passages, according to Benzinger and Japhet, or whether he already found them conjoined in the source text. This question is bound up with the relation between verses 28 and 37 through 37 and the parallel passage in chapter 9. Yeah, that's it on this commentary on this chapter.
Are we going to continue?
Of course.
If you say that. So I actually have quite a bit to get to today. So while I wish we could continue and finish this fucking genealogy, I cannot.
Okay.
Oh.
But we have 3 hours, Lawrence.
We could potentially have 3 hours.
No, we have.
We haven't even done 2 hours
that
yet.
was a distinction. Yes, exactly, Lawrence.
Yeah, we're almost at 2 hours. Yeah, I'm just saying I got good things to get to.
That's quite all right and well understood. When are we meeting up again?
Yeah.
I believe
Thursday,
we discussed
right?
Thursday this week, upcoming, because Lawrence has something to do on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to miss, what is it? I'm back up on my calendar.
3rd of
third.
May.
All right. So we're missing Saturday the 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do May 1st. Gotcha. All right then. And just to remind, are we doing chapter 9? Did we do 8? Yes.
We did 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We
got
did
the
eight.
wrong
Nine.
page.
Thank fuck for that. We will do
we're
chapter
doing
9, and then we'll actually get to a little bit of storytelling if we can hit 10, because Saul has to dramatically kill himself.
Can't do that.
Yeah, because we're
dramatic.
replaying the classics, so going back to some of the stuff that we read in the King's narratives.
Well, yeah, but at least we can cover David's mighty men, so we can once again reinforce that he is the shittiest friend who ever was.
What do you plan to cover David's men in?
David's mighty men are in
Another
11.
reminder: are we doing the regular time on Thursday? What time on Thursday?
Oh, that's right. What was the time that we had?
I think you normally do. Is it 2?
2? Yeah, that would be
2 Central Time.
Me. Yeah,
we normally do 3 hours after our Saturday start time, which is noon for me. But yeah.
So that would be 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, which is that your time, Lilith?
Sorry,
are you the same as Eastern?
No, I am in the West. I am Pacific Standard Time, so it would be 12 for me.
If we do 2 p.m., then I can't do 3 hours because I have a show with Jackson Wheat every Thursday.
We could go an hour earlier, potentially.
I can't do an hour earlier. I'd be like
just do a 2-hour show.
We'll just do a 2 hour.
Seems fair.
Yeah.
Man, at this point we have like 20 chapters. We'll do like 20 shows for Chronicles. First Chronicles specifically.
Okay, well, we will just speed
It's your
run
dream,
this
Palmer.
bitch.
Yeah,
No, it
exactly. Like,
We're just gonna have to speed run it because otherwise I'm going to become comatose or violent or both.
we
Okay.
will do the Thursday after as well, maybe, if we need to. Okay, cool.
All right, then we'll see you then.
You have
Thank you.
comments.
Everybody,
Yeah, join the Discord.
You still have
What?
comments to read, and I don't know if
Yes.
Lawrence wants to
people.
promote Tamir's server. I already put the link to Tamir's.
I'll promote my server.
My Unfinished Journey offers $2.22 and says, "Hail Nero, hail Aaron and Co, and hail Quiche."
Quiche is nice.
Okay.
Quiche is good. I like quiche.
Me
And
too.
then Berthausen offers $10 and says, "Lawrence makes the video of when God became a pro wrestler."
So that was I want to make a video about the time that Vince McMahon beat God at Backlash 2006. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work because WWE likes to flag everything that uses any of his content. So but I am considering doing something like that because I think it's a crazy story.
Okay.
It sounds fun.
It is fun. It was a very that was like the very beginning of Vince's insane era. Like he was already crazy, but like he really started to lose his mind.
He just let go. He let the crazy take over.
Yeah,
It's,
there was that, and then the year after that, he booked his own death, and he immediately had to unbook his own death because that's when the whole Chris Benoit thing happened. So he was like, "Well, now it's in bad taste." So yeah, it just went downhill.
That sounds like it. Okay.
Do you want to
By the way,
promote
join the
anything,
Discord.
Lawrence?
My Discord. Yeah, my Discord. Join my Discord. I don't know about Tomer's Discord, but I got a Discord.
I'll put the link to Tamir's
So,
Discord
my
in there
Discord,
as well.
Lawrence.
All right, and I'm picking up on my speaking dates again. It looks like, I mean, haven't been since COVID, but it looks like in May, on the 24th, I will be in Denver for Denver Secular Hub. And then I've got the next month after that, June 14th, I'll be in Des Moines for a talk up there. And then July 6th, I'll be in Williamstown, Kentucky, protesting the Ark Park yet again.
Excellent. Well,
Yes.
have fun.
And I've heard rumor that convicted fraud and charlatan will be there.
Oh.
Which one?
That was my comment.
There can only be one, Isaac.
Really,
Convicted fraud and charlatan,
not.
only one?
Well,
Are you kidding?
No, they
I
can.
mean,
We got the one that's going to be at Williamstown, Kentucky, and then we've got the other one who's currently president.
yeah, okay. I forgot
And
about
well,
him.
in fairness, a lot of his staff would also fall under that classification, present and former. But
I heard that George Santos got arrested or something.
yeah, he's actually going to go to jail for all of 5 minutes until the mango
87
Apparently
Mussolini
7
pardons him.
years. Apparently 7 years.
Yeah.
At least.
He'll get a pardon.
This
Pretty
is
sure.
this is nuts.
Don't pardon him until he spills the tea. That bitch is catty as fuck, and you know he has all the tea. He's evil, but he's a damn good gossip.
Yeah, but
So my unfinished sock says, "Don't fight over Discord servers. Like and share the stream instead."
Yes,
cross
yes.
streams.
We'll get the
Right.
boys kiss and make up.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.